is, and it is going to be a public forum, and we'll be, glad to hear from you guys if you have anything to say. But first, we have a lot of boring stuff to take care of, paying bills and stuff like that. So if you bear with us, then we'll have a presentation from the architect, and then we'll, have some discussion. All right, so first thing on the agenda, we have meeting minutes. We have 4 sets of meeting minutes to approve, hopefully. So the first one was August 19th. As you were here.
That doesn't mean I didn't make a mistake.
Yeah, just do them once, but we should do them quick. Do one at a time, huh? Yeah, you were here.
What do we got minutes for?
Minutes for 8/19.
Yeah, I would have been there, right?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the
Got a
minutes.
motion by Steve,
I'll second
second by Wade Warren. Any discussion? We don't need roll call votes, so we just all in favor?
it.
Aye. Unanimous. We got meeting minutes from 9:15. We're here for that one too.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 9:15.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, second from Brian Gallory. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We got minutes from the 9/16, which was the,
Oh, that was
The
the
public
public forum.
I
Yep.
did my best.
yeah.
No, it's good. I mean, you're not going to capture
It's a
everything.
tough one to describe.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 9:16.
That's a motion from Steve Meyer,
I'll second it.
second from Mike Moran. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. And the final one is from meeting minutes from 9/23. So was was that our last meeting?
It was.
Yeah, that's good. We're caught up.
Make a motion to approve it.
Chris Magliosi made a motion.
I'll second.
Second from Brian Delory. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, we have an invoice from Johnson Roberts. This would be invoice number 4. Basically gets us up to 85% on existing conditions, 40% on schematic design. $31,440.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice.
Steve Meyer made a motion.
I'll second.
Brian Delory second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. And now we just got an update on either geotech.
So, surveys done. Geotech,
I've got a slide of it.
yeah, oh, you do? Oh, good. So,
And Geotech is set, the earliest drilling date they could get was the 24th of this month. They said they've asked if they had a cancellation. So if we do get a cancellation, we'll let folks know locally. That they're probably gonna use a truck mounted rig. It's gonna go out there and spend a half a day, 3/4 of a day, blowing holes out there. We get pretty good access to the site.
Yeah, it should be
with
good.
a truck mounted vehicle based on what we saw. So they'll be done in a day, and then a week or two later, we'll get a draft of the geotech report. So if the date moves up from the 24th, we'll let folks know.
so the two requirements for MBLC is we have to have a survey and we have to have a geotech. Those are 2 requirements as part of the grant. So the survey will go in with the grant as well as the geotech. And a title. So I'll work with Mike to get the title.
One question about the grant. What is there, $1,000 that they held back? Is that what it is? Is it $50,000 when we get a check for $49,000 or something, do you know?
We got the grant was for 100
100, right?
and
yeah.
they deposited 90.
So 90, all right, so a
And
lot.
they,
probably.
I guess originally they were going to do 250s and then they had most of it, so they gave the 90. I'm assuming at some point before the end of June, we'll get the other 10.
Okay,
I will ask Heather if you want and see when that's coming.
so I'll just bill I'll bill the grant right up to 90,000, and then any other bills we get in the meantime, I'll just put on the article. And then when we get the grant, we can do the next 10. Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
They, just an FYI, it's not like MSBA with ProPay. So they divvy up their money, even when you get the grant into 5 equal payments. It is, I haven't been on one yet where we didn't get at least 1 year of double payments where, so they get X number of dollars from ANF in Boston. So if a library doesn't pass and they've allotted that money, they have to spend that money, so they'll double up a payment to the community, which is great for the communities.
Yeah.
So don't be, that's why she doubled
Got
up.
90,
You got 90 because
They had
somebody either didn't pass it or they, something happened and they didn't want to lose that money and send it back to the Commonwealth.
All right, good.
And they're excellent about that too.
Okay, well, thanks. I'm gonna jump right in.
I'm gonna shut the light off if that helps.
All right, yeah, that's okay. It'd be easy to see the slide and listen to see me, so that's probably good. If you can't hear me in the back, let me know. I've been told that I start out loud and taper off, so raise your hand if I'm starting to lose volume. My name's Phil O'Brien from Johnson Roberts. We're the designers for the library, and we just want to give you an update, show you some new things. We're going to show you a copy of the survey. There's not a whole lot to see. There weren't a lot of surprises there. And then we've got 3 schemes for a new building over on Chestnut Street now that we're down to 1 site. So we've got scheme 7.4 and then 7B.2. These are really variations of another. Numbers aren't so important, but it's how we keep track of things, kind of internally. But these are really just 2 variations. The first 2, the 7s, are the split level. So there's a 2-story building on the downhill side, and then there's another floor in the middle at the split level, at the rear on these 2 schemes. And then scheme 8 is the 2-story building. And we've got some sections that help to explain that a little bit, but just so that you know what's coming. So there's a copy of the survey. We just zoomed in on the working part of it. The whole rest of the drawing is there. But there's your existing site, Chestnut Street. There is a sidewalk that comes up along the road in front of the Verizon building. It's a little bit overgrown they've got a little low wall, just like you do on this site, kind of just a high curved granite wall. Very similar here. And then there's a sidewalk, that's kind of returning to nature, is I guess a good nice way to put it. There may have been a sidewalk in here, and it's maybe the grass has just got over it, but it didn't show up on the survey, and you can't see it when you're looking. But we have a sidewalk that runs down to the corner that kind of ends right here, and then doesn't pick up that we can see along in here. It's got a couple of drives that come in from the existing site. That wall kind of jogs along in here. It's got a little stairway here. So it kind of jogs in. There's a little set of stone steps, and then it stops at the driveway there. There's kind of an open section where the house used to be, or some kind of a building. And then there's kind of an open lot in the back, back up in here, and then trees up to the property line. It's a fair amount of grade, about 20 feet from front to back.
Those 2-foot contours or what?
It's a 1 foot.
Oh, 1 foot. Oh.
Yeah. So it's pretty even from top to bottom. The grade just kind of creeps right up, just like the street does along there between Verizon and the senior center. The grade kind of is just a gradual, just like the road. So the first one is scheme 7.4. This is one of the split levels. And this is the one that has children's on the upper floor. It's kind of the way we talk about them. Children's up or children's down. This one has children's on the upper floor. So we're going to start downstairs. So there's an entrance coming in from the road. Chestnut Street's out here, just like on the survey. We've got an entrance coming in, and then we've got adults. New books are shown in red, so the adult stuff for the most part is shown in greens. Computers, computer study room in this purple color. This beige color is kind of back of house circulation space, workroom, storage, friend's book sale. Director's office. We've got a local history room down here, some mechanical and electrical spaces on the outside wall. And then we've got a stair, half a level, that takes you up to that split level, that mid-level, which is here. And so if you go upstairs, that's that split level, so you can get into the building directly onto that mid-level from the parking lot. So there's a parking lot up here, I'm gonna show you that parking lot in a moment. You can get directly into this spot, you can go down to what we just showed you, to the adults department, or you could go up half a level to children's. In this case, children's is on the upper floor. On the split level, on the mid-level, we've got basically your nighttime zone. So you could close the stair down, lock off the elevator, which is here. And then you could use your meeting room at night, and it's got a little kitchenette and storage for things like chairs and tables and so forth. The maker space is also here, along with some toilets. And we've got a book drop, and then there's your book bike storage, so outdoor storage, shovels, sand, book bicycle can park up in here and get directly to the outside. So if you come up half a level into children's, there's a staff workroom here with a staff toilet. You can get direct access to the teens. There's windows and a door from the children's department, so the children's librarian can kind of keep an eye on what's going on in teens. Behind the children's desk, there's a librarian's workroom and some storage spaces, some additional family toilets here, so that kids don't have to go out into the lobby to use the bathrooms and leave the children's department. And then basically, we've just got children's, older kids in the middle, slightly higher stacks, lower stacks here for the younger kids along the outside wall, and then places to sit close to the windows and so forth. Emergency exit takes you back down to the entrance at the front. So there's a site plan. So you're getting in directly from here or directly from here. We've got a driveway that comes in pretty close to the driveway that's there right now, a little wider than that existing driveway, but it runs up to the site, loops around. So we're looking at kind of staggering the parking so we can level it off a little bit as we kind of terrace up the site with the parking. So getting into the split level here, or one handicap parking space here in case you wanted to do a program, something, come in down to the lower floor, two handicap spaces up here. We're showing 59 parking spaces on this site, which is what's driven by the Board of Library Commission. You remember that conversation on? Right, and then we have a section to the building which helps explain. So there's the existing grade of the site going down, and so you can see the split level here. Got the lower floor and the upper floor, and then the split level is in the middle. So if you come in this way, you can go down a half level to adults, up half a level to children's. Right? So we haven't really done an analysis with the civil engineers. They just got the survey last week, and so they're looking at it right now. But obviously we need to do a little cut in here to make this work. But what it does do for us is it keeps the grades kind of nice and low as you're coming up alongside the building. It's not as steep. Okay, so this is a variation of that same theme. Basically, the section is about the same, and I'll show you basically the same section at the end of this one. But in this case, children's is down. So children's, you come in from the back, down a half a level on children's, or you could come into children's from the front. Now, in this case, you could do, main entrance really could be at the rear. And this could really just have a sign on it that it's a children's entrance. And really the only folks that you'd expect to come in here would be children. Children could obviously still get in from the rear, but you wouldn't necessarily expect adults to come here and trip through the children's department to get up there. We assume they're gonna go up and park in the back. You could walk in this door potentially if you wanted to, I guess, and walk up the stairs, and that would put you upstairs without going through children's, so that's still possible. But you know, if you needed access to the elevator or something, then really the thing to do would be to drive on the back. So children's again lays out similarly with desk here where they can again see there's a glass wall that looks into teens. Teens has their own entrance off of the lower lobby. Again, staff break room, children's librarian's desk right here, storage spaces. This is kind of the new children's DVD kind of grab and go collection, we like to call it, near the desk where people kind of pick up popular materials, DVDs, CDs, things like that. We've got younger kids down in here. The craft room is kind of tucked over there with a children's study room and some storage. We've got the younger kids in here and the older kids there with seating against the windows. Again, if you go up half a level to the mid-level, this section of the building is actually very similar to what was in the last one. We rearranged the toilets a little bit in this one, but the elevator and the stairs are still there. So you can get in this elevator, obviously, at the mid-level, and then you get out on the backside, either up or down, right? Elevator, machine rooms, some mechanical spaces. In this case, the book bike and exterior storage is tucked around the corner of the building. But the maker space, meeting room, still in the same spot here. So in this case, we go up half a level to get to the adults department. Circulation desk sits in the center of the plan, again, backed up by the workroom. We've got the local history of the director's office and the Friends kind of close to the front. And then we've got book stacks for the adults, seating spaces, reading spaces, quiet study spaces, and computer. And then this is your new books, AV, kind of, again, that grab and go collection for the adults department there.
Do they both the same square footage?
Yes, essentially. I mean, you actually measure them, they're a little bit different because even though they're all drawn up nice and neat, they're really just sketches. But, you know. So there's the site plan for that one. It's essentially the same. It's just where things happen inside the building is a little bit different, and that's really the same section as well. I mean, they're diagrammatic, so it's not the same thing. In this case, adults and children's is swapped.
Will we make any provisions for outdoor space?
One of the things that we're thinking about doing is some outdoor space in the front, depending on the scheme, and we may do something small in the back, just by kind of expanding that plaza a little bit. So we know that folks like this kind of stop and check with their friends when they see people. And in the front, we may do something a little bit bigger, depending on how we lay it out. It's kind of a little raised area when you walk by on the sidewalk, so we think that might be nice. Hope by the doors to do something. We haven't really got to the point yet where we've developed that. We're got this little kind of beige indication that something might be there at this point, but it's still pretty sketchy. That's what we're thinking.
How far off the street are you with the face of that building?
Do you remember what the setbacks are?
It's 25 feet.
25 feet to the setback, so that's that dotted line right there. Where the building ends.
Did you get a sidewalk in building?
Are you still gonna have a wall in the front or no wall?
I don't know the answer to that. It's really gonna depend on the grading and the way we, there are sections of this wall that are tilting over a little bit, so it need a little work. But it is a handsome kind of historic wall. I don't have an immediate plan to remove it. And it may help a little bit with the grading, because once you get up on the site, we gotta get from point A to point B and meet the handicap code. So,
And that outside space, safety wise for driving outside as far as getting near that street. What are you gonna, do you have?
oh,
right
sure,
here?
yeah, we would definitely not just leave it wide open.
It would have to be a fenced in area
Yeah,
in front of that building.
Yeah, we'd corral them in a little bit, try to limit the exits so that you can, say you're there with 3 kids, and they all go in 3 different directions, because that's what they always do. You want to kind of funnel
Yeah,
where they can escape, where they can go.
So you
Yeah,
see that here, and this street isn't as busy as that street.
yeah. So we'll hem them in if we do something like that. We'll make sure we're.
I'm just thinking, should that be to the front or up on that upper side?
Oh,
Hold back on the side of the building where you have that green space.
or here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could look at things like that too. That's got a little bit of a slope to it up along the driveway. What the grades are gonna be, we don't know exactly, but yeah, we could look at things like that.
drop a wall off the high side and
Sure.
go that down to that short distance.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm not a fan of having those kids on the street side of that,
Yeah.
personally, but.
Yeah, I hear you.
One solution that might be to put up a fence on the fence, you have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something lower. Yeah, it could be a wall, it could be a seating wall with some bushes behind it. You just need to make some kind of a barrier between, if they gotta work at it to get to the road, we're doing the right thing.
When we give this submission of December, how much flexibility after the fact and after these kind of conversations for design?
Lots. We have both with our own designs, and then we've also been hired when somebody else did a design. And we kind of picked up with it later. They're gonna want it on this site. Once you decide where it is, it's gonna be here. Beyond that,
The square footages are kind of set. You can adjust a little bit, but we can't like double the size of it or half the size of it. I don't think they
upshot
go
is here.
through that.
you can double the size of it, and they wouldn't give you any more money, but you can't
Yeah.
reduce the size of it, or they'll take your money.
My point is, we're kind of, we have an urgent timeline to get this submitted in a month and a half, essentially.
Yep.
December, but we're not hemmed in by that design in this conversation.
No, because the way they describe the submission is about 75% schematic design. Because the grant readers are gonna read it, right? They're gonna, and then they're gonna come back with a bunch of opinions. Heather and Andrea from the Board of Library Commissioners will have their own opinions and they'll share those with us, and then people will be, everybody here locally will have an opportunity to think about it a
So
little
this
bit.
kind of specific, very specific, focused conversations yet really happen, we decided, depending on what's going on.
Right, there's still a whole bunch of design work that has to happen, and they understand that.
And that goes too with the facades.
Yeah, the
So,
design of the
you know, we're
building.
gonna show facades, but the materials might change, the windows might change, the massing might change.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not set in stone.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the context of our decision, right? 'Cause
Right,
You're
yeah.
looking for direction
That's
tonight.
like, I
And
just
I'm
had this
saying-
conversation with Dan, I'm sure
If
like.
you really want me to vote on it, it's gotta be this way. I need more than
Yeah.
a quick conversation on building of this magnitude and say, let's go.
Understood.
That's not what, and it, you know, this is a quick process to get from where we started to this first submission, so I think they understand that,
This
yes.
is like feasibility, right? They really want to know that it's workable, that it will fit, that it makes sense, that it meets your program, that it's achievable here, and how much, you know, what's it gonna take? It's really what they're looking for.
I call it MSBA light.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's still plenty of opportunity, and they understand that as well.
So I have a question though. They're not gonna say you choose a 2-story and then they're like, yep, you can do this 2-story. And then we say, oops, sorry, we can't, we have to make this different entry, like thirds, you know, like extendo. So we have these two, we have the 2 stories and then we have like the 2.5 stories.
Right.
You can't go from one to the other once you
You
submit.
certainly could, yes.
So you could,
You can,
okay.
yeah. We've got a grant, I got a grant with a 2-story building. I'm sorry, we got a grant with a 1-story building and then built a 2-story building
So,
on the same
like
site.
a certain amount of square footage, you get a certain amount of, then you got a site, and
We're
you
just-
and money, and then after that, you make the 3 mix.
Yeah.
You make your 3 mix.
Exactly.
Make a building.
And you can't go over.
Right. I mean, you can build anything you want, but they're not gonna pay for more, so, you know.
Well, I mean, you're, when you get your grant, you're gonna get an appropriation based on the grant. And we can't go over the appropriation ever.
And again, the good thing with this new program is that you're probably gonna go right ahead. You know, in previous grant rounds, it might be 4 or 5 years. They're still not gonna give you any more money. You know, you're still gonna make it fit. So, you know, it's a lot more challenging. Do you mind if I take questions from?
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is this still,
No, go ahead.
is this and what time did which one start? I've seen different times on the,
Oh, that's not a question for me, that's a question for the chair.
yeah, I've seen different times on the, main town website and the library website, so having walked in around 7, I thought this was the library public forum.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It is. We had a building committee meeting in conjunction with it. But the idea was the building committee meeting, we were gonna take care of some of the paperwork we need to do.
Okay.
And it would become a public forum, so. Anyone's welcome to our public building committee meetings at any time, but this one was more advertised to get some public input.
But we're going to have people arriving at 7 from the community, which, I mean.
And I'm happy to start again.
That would be great.
I'd be happy to.
Because I know there are people here who don't know anything about the project, or a minimum, like, the goal here is to, at 7 o'clock, don't.
Absolutely. And that's another 5 minutes or so.
Really, they don't need to go through the site walk and, right, it's just the building layout.
I'm gonna walk through things pretty quickly, which is about everybody. That's the same. The last scheme I got to show you is the 2-story scheme. This is called 8.4. So this is standard 2-story, entrance at the front, on the upper story, entrance in the rear. Okay? This is designed so that both entrances work for after hours as well. So we've got a glass wall around children, so you could lock that down. You could lock down teens, that's a separate department. So you could potentially get in at night, come downstairs with either of these 2 stairs or the elevator. get used to the makerspace or make your way in. If you were walking in from the street, make your way upstairs, and that's what the meeting room is for after hours. So children's is down here, the story and craft room was in the back. This one, because of the slope site, this one's buried into the side of the hill, basically, right? And so you've got windows starting at about here and right around, because that's all exposed, but then it starts to get buried back up in here. So we, not a lot of opportunities for windows around the rear. So that's why we got things like your server room, mechanical, electrical, program room, storage, stairs, things like that, pulled tucked around the back, because not a lot of space for windows. Younger kids, older kids, desk with the office, child study, teens, again, glass wall, door into teens, so the children's library can kind of keep an eye on what they're doing, but they still have their own space. Entrance to children's here. You can come in the front door, up the stairs, or down the hallway and up the elevator to get upstairs. Or again, come back downstairs to use the makerspace as a staff break room. There's some toilets down here. And plenty of things for different age groups of kids down on the lower level. When you get upstairs, entrance in from the rear, toilets, elevator, stairs down. There's another stair down here and a little open space to get you down to that lower level. Additional toilets down here. The large meeting room is here. So we've got a nighttime closure here. Probably engages with some columns, maybe some sliding doors, could be a pull down grate, a lacrosse grate. It's one of those things we haven't really nailed down, but there'll be a night closure there. We've done a variety of things in different buildings. Book drop, there's your bike storage. The Friends and Local History is tucked in this corner. Some quiet study rooms here. Computers and computer study. Director's office in this corner, next to the circ desk. Behind the circ desk is the workroom, some storage spaces. And then again, green is the book stacks for the fiction, nonfiction collection. Red is new books and AV materials, kind of that grab and go. And a lobby space. Site plan on here, again, is very similar. Because the overall length of this building is a little shorter, we're not as close to the street here. There's a little bit more room up in the front. So the building could actually move around a little bit. If we decided we wanted more of that space back up in here, depending on the grading, we might be able to develop an outdoor space up here and tighten that up a little bit. But basically, it's what Sybil's working on right now, trying to figure out a layout for us. We'll get a little bit more information when we're kind of down on one scheme.
Do we have a required parking count?
What we're working at right now is you don't really have anything in your zoning bylaw specific for libraries. And so what we were suggesting is that you defer to the state requirement, which is built into the Board of Library Commissioners requirements, which is basically one space per 400 plus handicap spaces plus staff. And that comes out to 59. That's what we're showing.
Do we have to hit that, or can we steal some of that space for more outdoor space if we want?
That's the recommendation from the Board of Library Commissioners for parking. If you do less than that, as long as your local planning board is okay with it, it's okay with the MBLC. But they,
We may end up having to go to the planning board anyway. Well, we're gonna have to. It's gonna be a site plan review, so regardless.
but they may want a letter, that says that that's okay with your grant application if we're gonna do something else. All right, and then here's a section with the adults. So there's the existing grade. It dotted, and so on this one, we'd actually fill a little bit at the back of the building to get it up. And then this portion of the building would be below grade. Not a lot of opportunities for windows again in the rear portion of the building, but you'd have opportunities at the front of the building, and then of course the upper floor would be direct on grade. And when you come in the door, you wouldn't have to go up or down the stairs immediately before you got to the adults collection, although you would need to in order to get down to children's.
That's a good question.
You did it before 7. Yeah,
Are we in the Q&A part at all?
I'm actually gonna start my show again for the 7 o'clock meeting, but I'm happy to.
No, I just had a quick question, because somebody brought this up the other day. Because I see you have the makerspace in the meeting room above one another in that plan.
Yes,
And somebody observed that, makerspace is wonderful. I mean, this was not somebody that wasn't excited about the idea of the mayor space, but they can space in Louise. I wondered if having a meeting room directly above it could be like kind of a problem back and forth, you know?
We haven't run into that in our library buildings. Library buildings are built structurally pretty beefy, just to support the stack loading. So we haven't had too much trouble with sound. No, tell me you're gonna have like a tap dancing class in that meeting room and I'm gonna have to eat my words. But something like that would obviously cause a problem, right? Or if you had a bunch of kids like you're nailing plastic nails into blocks of wood or something up on the meeting room, yeah, that might cause a problem. But we could certainly talk to our acoustical engineers about separating those things.
Well, I just wanted to like pass that along because I thought it was a good observation that the makerspace, you know, has some machines running sometimes,
Sure.
and, you know, as long as it's enclosed. But I just myself thought about
Well,
if it's right on top of each other, would it make a difference? I think
Okay.
you've answered the
The
question.
concern about the makerspace anyways traveling up, I think that's less likely. Just because, yeah, you're relying on the air to transfer that noise, whereas if you're from below, you know, for example, in some schools, they'll have older schools in a lot of cases, but on the gymnasium on top of the cafeteria.
Yeah.
And when they bounce the basketballs up there, there's very little you can do because the floor itself is acting like a tire.
Okay, I just wanted to make the observation. I
Somebody's
appreciate the
thinking very
answer.
carefully about the building, that's fantastic.
Well, why don't we, before you start your new, another, you know, redo
Yeah.
this presentation, why don't we set our next meeting?
Okay.
And then we could probably close out the building committee meeting. And we're done with all our business. Anyone can stay if they want, but then if anyone wanted to leave, they could leave. So when,
Then we have a public forum.
the public forum, you know, well, I'll stay for the public forum, but you know, everyone doesn't like to stay. But we might as well finish up our business here. So I don't know when you're thinking about.
We have a meeting the 18th already. Let's see, that's our next,
What's your next
The
building?
18th of November, yeah.
And did we,
When's the submission due?
December 31st.
Oh, not to the 31st.
Yeah, I'd like to get
New
it in.
Year's Eve first.
We don't want to be doing it on the 31st.
28th or something, where
If we're still fiddling around, man, yeah.
And you need us to take action tonight?
No.
We have to go before the
It would
planning
be-
board before that goes in.
That would be, well,
No.
we don't need anything official from the planning board.
No, because we don't have a site plan. We're not gonna have any of that stuff.
You don't have drainage, you don't have a lot of things.
Yeah,
But if you're looking for an
that's-
opinion, if you want to get an opinion, if you wanted to do less than what we're showing, 59, for example, and you wanted to get opinion from the planning board and have them put that in a letter, then that'd be great, because that would help your application.
So when would you like us to make a decision on the 3 different schemes we have? Do we need to do that? We don't need to do that tonight, I can't imagine. Do
Well,
we?
you need to do it pretty quickly, because we need to also figure out some of the details on the site, so we can answer some of the questions that we talked about a little bit more. So we need to do a little bit more site planning. We can't really turn them loose on that until we have a building.
Right.
And we also need to look at what the building is gonna look like. What the shape of it's gonna be, first off, and then what it's gonna look like after that. We're gonna look at, so the process that we've gone through with the plans, where we're looking at various options, we'll end up coming with various options about what the building might look like, what shape it might take, and then we'll kind of fine tune that and try to figure out what the building's gonna look like. So that will take a little bit of time too.
Yeah.
you have elevation drawings for the next meeting?
Well, if you,
Pick this.
if you pick the building, make a deal with you. If you pick the building, then yes.
Okay. And we need to hear from the public.
We need to hear from the public, yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, I don't know if anyone on the board so far from their quick little look at this has myself, I kind of like the split.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go with a split. It doesn't seem to me to make much of a difference between the two. Rick, 'cause
It's just
like you
smaller
said-
area, that's all.
You said, we could actually vary the building, so the 2 different versions of the split would easily flip flop. In other words, did you
Top to
see?
bottom.
Yeah.
Well, in other words, we could start looking at, if you chose one of the splits tonight, for example, and you still hadn't decided which one you liked, we could start looking at massing of the building,
Yeah.
for the next meeting. And then at the next meeting, you have to.
Which I think, I like the split. I like the children on the second floor. And the rationale would be, I think you could put more handicap spots on the first floor so that maybe adults who didn't want to deal with an elevator could potentially park down low and enter right into the adult section. And then that keeps the children in more of a contained area. They can't just run out into the street, as was mentioned. They wouldn't have access to that. They'd be on the second floor, which then means if you wanted to put the outside space, I think you might focus more on the outside space towards the parking lot side, like Brian mentioned. And then maybe even try to see if we could knock down those parking spots by even a few, just to kind of tuck that in there.
Use more space.
Yeah.
Well, Marie, what, I mean, you're the library expert in this building, right? One of them. I should say.
I will tell you, we like the split because we like having the meeting spaces all together. It's
Mhm.
like easier to close it off at
Mhm.
night. We feel like it's sort of more egalitarian in terms of its design. I don't know that we want to talk about how the MBLC feels about the split, but as in my staff, the people who have expressed an opinion prefer the split. Yes.
What about children? Do you have, does it matter to you, or do you think it matters if children are upstairs or downstairs?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a rationale for putting them up on the second floor. That's where they are now, and Steve had a good point. But they're also easier access to outside. No, we haven't actually taken an official poll. There are people who are absolutely adamant that we don't have parking. Then there's people who say, what are you talking about? There's plenty of parking because they walk. And there's probably just as many people walking with strollers as they are
Right.
walking
I was
with.
wondering that, yeah.
So, there is no right answer to that. Unless you really want to go around and poll everybody in town and say, okay, do you have children? Do you think you're more likely to use the upstairs or the downstairs? I mean, I don't know what the answer is to that. That
If you're
I'm sorry.
walking, I mean, just because children or adults are upstairs or downstairs, if you're walking, there's nothing
you're walking-
restricting you from.
If you're
going
walking,
in
you
the
can
front
walk
door.
up.
No,
Well, it's also one, you could walk up, but two, you can go in that
this-
door.
Yeah.
So this is why the children on the downstairs could be an issue. Because you have people who don't want to walk all the way around the building up the hill, and they would go in there and then they're right in the children's room. Yeah, they could walk up the stairs, sure, but the elevator's on the opposite side of the room,
Yeah.
of the building. So
Steve, you hit that nail on the head.
and try it with the children's on the floor, and that's why we ended up with the other theme, with the
Yeah.
other way, with the children's on the second floor. So that's what we both.
Marie,
I ask you one question. Originally,
point about, are we going to poll everyone in the town? Because I don't know what the demographic usage would be as far as transportation to and from the library, how many people walk, how many people visit the library, how many people use online services. I don't have a sense of that, and that will have an impact on the local environment.
So in our strategic plans, we've done a lot of these surveys, and again, it was about even the people who are answering, one, that we don't care about parking, and then just as many say we care a lot about parking. So that's why I'm saying I don't know what the answer is to that.
Has that been circulated throughout the town, potential users of the library? I have not seen anything like that. I've seen the small criteria lists that were.
So
used
this
to
was,
choose
these are
sites.
strategic plans that were not done like recently. I don't know how long you've lived here.
25 years.
Okay, well, so they were done.
They were definitely done that.
Yeah, they're definitely done.
In relation to this, I just, as someone with a very young child, want to ask how many like homeschool kids / early child program kids do you see during a regular weekday program who would maybe be benefiting from top floor versus bottom floor, light coming through the windows, kids coming in for after school programs where maybe during winter it doesn't really matter. Like if there's a lot of young kids coming during the day for these homeschool style programs or toddler programs, then maybe top floor where there's light and all that really make a difference.
There's gonna be light on both floors. Believe me, we've had this conversation
Okay,
many,
because I
many
just heard
times.
him talk about.
Especially with the
there's
split
fewer
building. If we're
windows.
going with the split building. there's gonna
Exactly,
be a
exactly. When
lot.
there's, with the split building, it's almost the same.
Yeah.
I think it's just a contrary opinion. I think the two-level plan is much preferable. First of all, I think it works better with the site. If you look at the site sections with the split level, there's a fair amount of cut that has to go from the parking area to the mid-level entrance. That's the two-level. If you go back to the split level, so you have you can see you have a little bit of fill. Let's say that's probably 3 feet of fill at its maximum.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you go to the split level section, there's a fair amount of cut. There's a huge amount of cut if we have even close to the level parking area, as you can see there. I think the two-story scheme works better with the site. I think it'll be much less site work. And when you get to the periphery of the developed area in terms of ferrying grades back into the adjacent properties, I think this floor plan is going to work a lot better. These are first go-arounds. There's no reason why in a redesign, the makerspace and the meeting room can't be together. I think the two-story plan actually makes better spaces. This is something that's kind of esoteric. We spent 25 years looking at drawings, and I can see those spaces in my mind's eye better. Does a better job of welcoming people into a municipal facility, civic institution on the first floor. When you come in, there's a space that welcomes you. I have some questions on the second floor in terms of having the meeting space on the second floor and how you could satisfy your means of egress. Also wondering if you have just the makerspace. I don't know if having that, if you have the two spaces immediately at the split level entrance, if you're satisfying the egress requirements, because if there's still one end, there would be one exit. If at nighttime, I believe the rest of the building was separated. I think the two-story plan does a really good job of segregating the children's room from the circulation spine. I talked about whether the elevator wants to be in front and back. Probably wants to be in the back because more people are going to come to this building from the parking lot rather than from the roadway. But there are a significant number of people who are going to walk. It's a very dense populated neighborhood. It's adjacent to other things, and people aren't going to want to walk around the back of the building. So coming into the building in front of the building should be an appropriate experience. I think it works better with the site. I think it's better space. And I think that with some redesign, maybe reconfiguration of those public spaces and the circulation to and from, I think there's a solution that could be had that looks at the two-story scheme rather than the scheme with the split level entrance.
So, to be fair, nobody likes the this two-story, because what happens is that half of the downstairs is underground. And nobody wants it to be underground.
But with the spaces he's got underground are spaces that people aren't normally occupying anyway. They're disturbing spaces.
Well, that was very carefully designed.
Yeah. So those spaces that don't are bereft of light are not spaces that are typically occupied or enjoyed by people. They think bathrooms, mechanical rooms, storage, those kinds of things. So the fact that they're bereft of light is not fatal.
We did a building similar to that in Littleton. If anybody's visited Littleton, there's portions of that building on the lower floor that I talked to you Hill. And you get a pretty good idea about what you'd be dealing with. I know it's not right next door.
We bring people up to date. But I just noticed a lot of people have arrived. And as Chris said, there's the permanent building committee meeting here, which is now concluded. Is that correct?
No.
No,
We didn't pick a date.
May I suggest that meeting concludes, and then Bill will go back to the people, so that everyone who has arrived either during all of this sort of go back to the beginning and just step people through, because I'm wondering how many people have really no idea that we're talking about the vacant site on Chestnut. Yeah, so would that be okay, Chris?
Well,
You need.
we have other, the only issue is either we have to meet again very quickly
I see.
or we have to make a decision tonight. And I don't mind meeting again quickly. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, the next meeting could be virtual too. We don't have to do that one live. But we have to make a decision
That's okay with us.
on which,
So for my own self, I'd like to hear what everyone has to say. So if we're gonna make a
Yeah.
decision tonight, then we need to open that up and get on with it so that
or
we
we
can hear
could,
what they
or
have to
like I
say
said, I mean, it's only November 4th. We could have a meeting.
next week or the week after.
We could have a meeting next week, you know, like the 12th. The 11th is a holiday. I don't know what people are. But we could meet on the 12th.
Can we do the 10th?
All right,
For the 10th,
that's good with me.
for the 12th. 10th?
10th.
Better for you?
10's better for me.
10th's better for me.
We're gonna have a virtual meeting on the 10th.
Yeah.
And then anyone who wants to stick around and listen, I'm gonna stick around. And then we can go from there. So why don't we have a motion to adjourn? Brian Delory made a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Get that there?
A second.
Second by Chris Magliozzi. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
So
Unanimous.
we did the 10th at 6:30. Is that what the time we're gonna? And we're gonna try to do remote.
Remote.
You available? Should ask you first.
Say yes. One of us, sure.
And we'll expect elevations on what,
Time is
17?
7:17.
We at least look through massing. Yeah.
So I guess to Phil's point, you know, on that 2-story building, if there is less cut in the back, because you do have, it's a narrow site, so what ends up happening, I think one of his points was you have to hit the grade at the adjacent property.
Right.
So if you're cutting more, you got way less room to
You're spending money on walls.
make up that. You'd have to build, you might end up with walls, around.
I just have one question. Originally, did you
But then
show
you
that
do
a
sunlight
while
too.
ago with a split with the doorway on
Build
the side?
walls.
I did.
Now you're
Yeah,
cutting
that
out the
is one
sun
of the
coming in.
considerations.
You just
Depending
have to
on
go
where
walking
you're doing it.
distance.
Well, then don't be that tall.
If that doorway was in the center on that side, she's talking about people, you know, not wanting to walk all the way around the building and, you know, front to back, side to side, would cut that walk down from that and give you the same thing. I mean, that was a good looking entrance on that side of the building on one side. If that was something that would create the split the same way.
The difference there is that split is you come into a landing and all you'd have is the stairs and the elevator. Whereas this one has all those meeting spaces and the toilets and all that, it's just all on that level. Getting that to work from the side would be complicated given the geometry of the site.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
makes sense.
The MBLC didn't like that.
Or you're putting the entrance away from, people either coming from their car or from the sidewalk. And you're putting the entrance at the most remote point. At a point that's remote from those two, segments.
Could we proceed to the presentation?
This is it, yeah, go ahead on the presentation, our meeting's over. Yes.
Swap some seats around.
Sure.
It's really hard for people in the back to see.
I'd be glad to swap seats.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move to the back. Question, you want me to take notes on this?
No, because it's.
All right.
We don't need to.
Steve Radish.
Thank you. Come on down. There's plenty of seats up here.
So, no, but I have a
I'm a camper, really. Very busy.
They're all great, they're all great. I'll probably get it.
Well, we can fill it out number one.
Yeah. I actually have two more in my car. And then there's two can't have this catalog yet, bring me up.
And she's still looking over the effort.
Oh, yeah, we have like pairs.
This would work on.
This week's on the.
You guys are objective.
Should we get this?
Fair enough.
I have more pictures.
Oh, I know. I don't watch TV when I watch TV.
There's 5 seats up here in the front, and I'll step back so I don't spin on you while I'm talking.
All right.
You wanna sleep? Well, I do, I get it. There's a sign. Bring them in here. Wanna make sure. I think we want to start.
You're gonna have to raise your voices. Yeah, that's okay.
Before Phil starts, okay, so does everyone know Marie, the library director? This is Marie Latat. And Marie is working with the Public Building Committee and the OPM and all the rest. So she's the one doing the heavy lifting to this point, right? There are members of the Board of Trustees here. I'm Gloria Parkinson, a trustee. There, over there, there's Tina at the back, there's Francisco here, there's Jill, where are you? Jill here. Okay, Jill there. Okay, what I'm going to say, because I know everybody wants information about this whole project, right? So I've got a clip over here, and what this is, if you are comfortable to give your email address and your name, and there are a series of e-newsletters about, well, one has just started, the first issue. If you sign your name and your email here, you will get added to that, and electronically we'll keep receiving. There are going to be a total of 6 newsletters between now and December, okay? Apart from that, if you're not clear about anything and want information, there's a library website, right? There's a whole construction section, and there is also a project website. So we're trying to make sure that as much as possible gets out there. So I'm going to start off. Who wants to start by signing your email? To get, what?
I'm already on the list.
You're on the list there. I'm going to just circulate it with a pen. And as I say, that is going to come from the person who's working with the OPM company.
I think I need 3 or 2.
And they are doing massive amounts of outreach so that everybody feels that they are informed. So,
Are they doing stakeholder management?
I'm sorry.
And if they're doing project management, are they doing stakeholder development? As in.
She said it in front of you.
Let me talk to you out. Okay, so
Okay, sorry, we need to vote as a town to either approve or deny this whole thing. What is that? What date is that?
no. Okay, so
Or when is that? Sorry.
So the actual vote by the town will be at the town meeting, the 1st of June, 2026. So in other words, 8 months from now. What we are doing is moving through, and Marie can talk a bit more about it, but this whole project has been being worked on for a couple of years, and there have been gatherings, but Marie has organized, she mentioned the gatherings when she has some information from people. And right now where we're at is there was a September 16th in the town hall. How many people were at that one? It was, yeah, okay, and I know it's very crowded. So that allowed the architect to present some ideas. And at that point, part of the application process is the town had to submit 2 sites for the application. One is obviously this site, a renovation of this site. And then the second site was Chestnut Street, one block up, right? That determination has now been made by the Public Building Committee, which have done an incredibly diligent and thorough assessment of the options. And there's a matrix that shows all of that. So all the information is available. And if you're, if you can't quite find everything, it's all on the website. So right now, the decision has been made by the town to build new on Chestnut Street. And this is now what Phil is going to share, and what some of you were hearing in conversation in the weeds with the permanent building. So what Phil is now going to share with you is that decision to build new.
When is that decision?
All right, I'll stop talking now. I talk too much. So thank you, Phil.
All right. Okay, so my name is Phil O'Brien with Johnson Roberts. There was this public meeting, I think was announced for 7 o'clock, and the permanent building community decided to meet at 6:30, and they thought they were gonna get it all wrapped up in half an hour, and that went a little long, so. I'm sorry about that, but, so I'm gonna start again, and I'm gonna walk you through the same, presentation that I gave them. I'm probably gonna do it a little slower, and I'm happy to take questions whenever you'd like. I don't have a real kind of set way that I'm gonna do this. But we are in the the early parts of schematic design, in order to submit to the Board of Library Commissioners for their current process, we need to get about 3/4 of the way through the schematic design process in order to fulfill the application requirements, so that once we turn that in, they'll have a number of grant readers that have volunteered to help review all of the applications. There's a number of different cities and towns that are applying on the same grant round as you. I think there's a total of 14 if they all make it to the end. They'll review all those things. They'll get all that feedback back to the community. And that will probably mean that there's gonna be some changes again that we'll need to make of the design that we submit. Now, one of the questions that come up early on, is this the design once we decide on what we're doing right now? Are you stuck with that? The answer is no. There's plenty of opportunity to change the design once you've put in the application, as long as you fulfill the minimum requirements from the Board of Library Commissioners, you can still keep your grant.
So what I think I heard you say is that the site has been decided on,
The permanent building committee chose that at their last meeting. That's right.
was that a public meeting?
Yes, they're all public. Yep.
And was, because it directly affects a number of people on that street
I know.
who have no idea what was going on, or it was not solicited. And you directly impacted
Sure.
whatever's instructed.
I understand that. I work for the town. I mean, basically I answer to the permanent building committee. You know, and I do as they tell me essentially. But that decision was made and all the meetings are public as far as I know.
It was a very well-attended meeting, and there were a few people from Chestnut Street at the meeting who did bring up certain concerns about things like sidewalks and parking
Big talk.
and it was definitely discussed. Yeah.
At the meeting in the town hall?
Yes.
I mean,
That was the September meeting.
yes, and the acoustics were terrible. There were, you know, I just think there could have been better outreach and better solicitation of input.
But that's on them.
Yep.
That's not on him.
No, I
I
understand.
appreciate it. I try to do it because I feel like I work for the whole community, but I really have the answer to them. So this is really to kind of keep me on track. I've got a copy of the survey that we just had done, just got completed about a week ago. We took a survey of that site. And then we've got 3 schemes. These 7 schemes, 7-4 and 7B, are really just variations of the same thing. This is that split level you were talking about earlier. And then scheme 8 is the 2-story scheme. I'll explain that a little bit more as we go through. So here's the survey of the existing site. Here's Chestnut Street. This is the Verizon building on the corner. There is a sidewalk that runs up from the corner, and it pretty much ends, we think, at the end of the wall in front of the Verizon building. It may continue, but you can't see it. It may be overgrown. I guess that's possible. But it doesn't appear that there's a sidewalk. All of this seems like there's space for one, and then there's definitely no sidewalk on this side of the street beyond that point. But there is a low wall, a stone wall. It's pretty much the same wall as there is in front of the Verizon building. A little jog right there with a set of steps, and then there's a break in it where there's a driveway. And then it ends here. There's another driveway coming in on the side. There used to be a building on that site. It's already been taken down. I think it might have been in here, but I don't know exactly. We did look it up on some of the old photographs. And then there's a little bit of the stand up trees in here and a couple of larger trees around that you can get around in the rear. And then there's another open space and then more woods to the back. It's a pretty even grade. These are 1-foot topographical lines. So the elevation climbs pretty steadily, pretty evenly across the whole site. It's kind of a shallow slope that goes right up, mostly grassed with a couple little groves of trees and then trees in the back. So the first one we're going to do is scheme 7.4. This is the split level that has the children's department up. So this is the lower level. All the schemes have the same color coding. So the adults departments are in green. This is your fiction, nonfiction collection, quiet study rooms, circulation desks, the beige spaces are staff spaces, or back of house spaces. We've got these gray spaces are typically things like janitor's closet, mechanical and electrical rooms. There's an elevator right here. So basically, if you come in the front, you can either take the stairs and go directly up, or you can come right into the adults department. We've got computers here in the purple. There's some soft seating and tables in the center of the plan, and then there's some other places where you can go along the edges of the plan near the windows and sit and either in a comfortable chair and read or study. Use a computer someplace closer to the desk where you can get some help if you need it. And then in the red is the new books and browsing collection. So if you're coming into the library, this is where you could kind of grab something quickly, a new book or a DVD or something like that, check it out and go. Yeah.
Question, I noticed, as I was looking at those plans the other day, that a quiet study room is between two group study rooms, which seems kind of, like it doesn't make sense to me with the noise.
There will be sound isolated, but that is a good point. We could separate them off and put them on the opposite side. So in other words, you could pull this quiet study room over here, and get it away, from the other ones. That's a subtlety, but yeah, it may make a difference when you're in there if there's a loud group going on in the group study. Thank you. So if you, from this point, go up half a level or get in the elevator and go up half a floor, you can come out at the mid-level or the split, which is where the entrance is. So if you come up the stairs half a level, take the elevator up a half a level, you get it to this level. So this level is basically this whole section of the building that's at the midpoint between the two floors. And that has direct access out onto the site. So because the site slopes up, getting this door a little lower than it would be at the second floor allows us to keep the overall slope of the site lower. So getting from top to bottom, either in a car, walking, pushing a stroller, in a wheelchair, just a little bit easier if we could lower the grade a little bit, which is one of the benefits of this one. It also helps out with some of the with the windows that you saw, getting access around, but it does make the building a little bit longer overall from the back. This is some of the trade-offs here, the permanent building talking about. So if you're coming in directly from the rear or taking the elevator or the stairs up, you'd come up half a level to this and then get to the children's department. So in this mid-level, we've got the large meeting room, and it's got a storage room for things like chairs and tables. It's got a little kitchenette that's available. You can get to that from the meeting room. You can also get to it directly from the hallway. So if you were coming in and there was a meeting like this going on and there was going to be an intermission, we were all going to have donuts and hang around for 20 minutes and then get back to it, you'd be able to get into that kitchen and kind of get things going and so forth without having to go in the meeting room. We've also got the maker space here, and that's in the nighttime zone. So actually, we could close off the elevator and the stairs here, and the rest of the library would be secure in the evening or on the weekend when the rest of the library is closed, and you'd still have access to these two spaces at night. They'd be on their own temperature zone and so forth, and they would act as a little suite. Yes?
I was just wondering, that meeting room space, how many people would that hold?
This one's designed for, is it 80 or 100?
Yeah.
80?
Is it about like this one?
Oh, no, it's bigger than
It's gonna be bigger than this size?
Nice, I like that. Yeah,
Oh, okay, so.
yeah.
Yes, so, not that I understand this, but there would be an, entrance off of, you know, where the stairs are that are part of that ledge?
Yes.
Yeah. Where would the entrance of the library be?
I have a site plan that I'm going to show you in a moment, and I'll point that out.
Okay.
Is that okay?
And my other question was the children's library and the teen,
Yeah.
the youth.
Yeah.
Okay, do the youth get study rooms?
We don't have a study room specifically in the teens department, although we do have a room that we're thinking about that's separate, that they could do things like gaming in, and that would be a separate room that you could close. And you could certainly use that for study, don't you think? If it wasn't being used for gaming, those two things could
Yeah,
go
I mean,
together.
that's what I'm finding.
Yeah.
Shrewsbury, they have a specific area for it.
Inside the teens.
To have like a project study
Sure.
or something of that nature.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why that, a space like that could do double duty. We've certainly done that in other libraries.
Yeah.
it's not completely delineated here. This kind of orange color that you can see right here is the teens department. So you can see into the teens department from the children's department. You could get there, there's a door, but they have their own entrance that comes in off the lobby. So this area right here, you could separate that off and you could do gaming in there, or there could be quiet study or group study that happens in there while the rest of the teens department is kind of doing its own thing. So everything basically you see in yellow on this upper level is children's department along with children's staff areas. So if you come up half a level, you can get direct access to the teens. You can go to the staff break room, or there'd be another glass wall with doors and you can get right into the children's department. And the children's department has its own little program room. There's a children's study room. And then there's a storage room that's associated with the program room. And then we try to separate out the younger kids from the older kids in the plan. So we've got lower stacks, younger kids, toddlers. There's a nursing room there. There's a family toilet. Exit stair, which gets you back downstairs at the other end in case of emergencies. And then we've got some tweens up in here where they can kind of keep a little bit separate from the younger kids. So we're trying to separate out the groups because they'll naturally do that anyway. And so if you think about it a little bit and you give them a little bit of place where they can call their own, they'll end up being a little bit happier. And then around by the circulation desk again, there'll be that kind of grab and go collection, low shelving and so forth. People can kind of pick things up. Whether you're doing self-service holds or things like that, that will happen in the desk. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about green space outside the library and are there any opportunities for children's reading programs at the libraries where a librarian will read to a group of young children outside the library?
Yeah, we would like to do that. It's one of the things the permanent building committee was talking about a little bit. I'm gonna take you right now to the site plan. So this is Chestnut Street. And you recall there's two existing driveways coming in. We would abandon that one. We'd expand this one, basically make this one the new driveway that comes into the building. And then we'd have to kind of terrace the parking as it goes up across the site, okay? So it'll get a little higher as you go. So there's some opportunities for some outdoor space here at the rear. And there's also opportunities for outdoor space at the front. Now, in the one that we just looked at, children's is up. So they're probably gonna come down the stairs, the elevator and out to the rear. So we may do something in here. We may do something along the side. We haven't really nailed it down, but we are thinking about some spaces that we could utilize. Knowing a little bit more about which direction we're gonna head in is gonna help. But it's, that is one of the things that we'd like to be able to identify as we're working on the site plan. Just got the survey about a week ago. So we are working on that now. Civil engineers have this and this is actually a little bit of an updated site plan as far as parking and everything goes. And that's based on the initial information come back from the civil engineers. They didn't like what we had before.
Just, you also mentioned the sidewalk that goes in front of the Verizon building.
Yep.
And then sort of continues in front of this area. That sidewalk is barely walkable right now.
Yeah, I walk my dogs every day there. There's no sign.
Yeah.
There's a walking space, but there's not an inch of concrete there. It's all roots of trees.
No. You're right. In front of this site, there's really nothing. It could be, there might have been something there once upon a time, but there's nothing left of it. And the one, I haven't walked this for a number of weeks, but the one that's in front of the Verizon building is pretty beat up as well.
So what will be the sidewalk in front of your library space?
So typically when we do a project like this in a setting with sidewalks, we probably, and this is gonna be one of those things that's gonna be up to the permanent building committee and the planning board and so forth. We'll probably put a sidewalk in here in front of the building, and make sure that it has a connection to the existing sidewalk. And then we'd probably be talking to DPW or somebody about whether or not we wanna coordinate having a new sidewalk put in front of Verizon. But that sidewalk in front of Verizon or anywhere else continuing down the street or whatever would not be part of this project, but it could be coordinated with the town.
So as I assume you know, it's an extremely busy street.
Yeah.
3 numbered highways, so basically that street. So sidewalks would be more necessary, I think.
Yeah.
People say.
That makes sense to me.
The just the length of like Central Park, and I was sort of confused when they didn't continue it on and finish the rest of that, because it is extremely walked. That area is extremely busy. And so this might be the push that like gets them to finish the rest of Chestnut Street.
Yeah, that,
It should have happened.
They might have been holding off because of this.
I can just say also, as somebody, I live right across the street, it's not practical to have any kids in front of the library at all. It's a very busy street, yeah. Very busy street, 18-wheelers go down. And even with when they put in the stop signs that kind of slowed the cars down a little bit, they still just rev up on that straightaway. So try and put your green space on the back. It's really not practical.
thank you.
I just wanted to echo what somebody from, I guess, the building committee said, just as the meetings were transitioning from one to the other. Cause I had the same thought that he did, that entering the library from the back, I mean, I like the plan that has the meeting room and the makerspace across from each other. I get all the reasons why that makes sense. But because you walk in, that's gonna be like the main entrance really, because you walk in there and the first thing you have to do if you have a stroller, a wheelchair, you have mobility issues, is get on an elevator. And elevators break, they have maintenance, all kinds of things happen. There's fire, safety, there's all sorts of things. And having a second entrance on the side near the parking, rather than having to go all the way around the front of the building, I think makes a lot more sense even for pedestrians, because you walk and then you walk up a sidewalk, so you're more in the safety zone of the building. And then you'd have a side entrance, and then if anything did happen to the elevator, people would not have as far to walk around in rainy weather, snowy weather, icy weather. They could get to the other door and get inside and make use of all the spaces they want to go to that aren't the meeting room and aren't the maker space. So I kind of think those two things go together, like if that's the maker space and meeting space zone, and it's not on the same level, that there really should be another close by entrance just in case. That's my opinion.
Thank you. So this is a cross section, just kind of slice the building down on the site like a cake and looking at the layers. This is the site sloping down. The street is out here. There's that little hump where the existing wall is, and so that's the front lawn. Here's the rear. So this is the mid-level. And then you've got the lower floor and the upper floor, and this mid-level, the split level comes in at the halfway point, right? So that's where the meeting room and the makerspace is. And in this case, children's is up, and they wouldn't be going out here. And this one, if they had outdoor space, they'd be coming out the back and doing an outdoor space here. And so the adults department would have access directly to this kind of patio or something if we did that, and then that would be the front entrance of the building. Right. And so this second one is another variation of the split level we just looked at. This one has children's down on the lower floor. So in this case, the idea of having children's here is that this is really, rather than a everybody entrance, this is really a children's entrance. And the main entrance is really at the rear of the building. It comes into that split level. If you were walking, you could certainly come in here and then go right up the stairs if you wanted to do that without coming into children's. But it's really, the idea of this one is that would be a children's entrance. And then you would have direct access to grade without having to go up and down the stairs or whatever, if you wanted to transition outside for a program, for example. If you were doing a program in here and it was a nice day and you get a bunch of people that showed up, you could go right outside. Now we would obviously need to create a secure place out there where kids weren't going to escape onto the road. And we've certainly done things like that before as well. So again, this is again on the lower level. You could go up half a level to get to the midpoint or take the elevator up to the midpoint from this floor. But again, teens is on this floor with its own entrance. Staff room has its own entrance off of the lobby, and then the children's department. Again, younger kids, older kids, babies and toddlers, nursing space, family toilet, the program room, storage, a child study room. This is the circulation desk for children. This is that kind of grab and go collection near the desk. There's the children's librarian's workroom and some storage right behind. And if you take the stair half a level, or the elevator half a level up, you can get to the mid-level or the upper floor. And this section of the plan is pretty much the same as the other one, with the meeting room at the top with the kitchenette. In the storage room, maker space down here, we reconfigured the toilets a little differently in this one. And moved the bike drop and exterior storage around to the side of the building here. But come in here, up half a level, will get you to the adults department. So we've got in red is that grab and go collection, AV materials, new books, the browsing collection, all low shelving here in the kind of in front of the desk space. There's a workroom right behind the circulation desk and storage for things like the library of things and so forth. That all happens here. In this case, we've got computer study room, and then we've got group study, quiet study, group study. Take your point, probably do the same thing in this one. Computers in the center here. That way, if you need help from the desk, you can get it. Some spaces to read and study, some other spaces closer to the windows if you wanted to have a nice read someplace. Local history, director's office with glass so they can kind of keep an eye on what's going on at the desk and you can get to them. Friends right here, and then we've got some mechanical spaces and so forth here. Site plan is essentially the same on this one, but children's entrance at the front, main entrance on the mid-level here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you were, if the children's entrance is the front of the building, if they're taking a sidewalk and walking and it's raining or snowing, and you wanted to come in that door instead of walking around the building, so strangers will be cutting through the children's room to get to the elevator.
If they want to get to the elevator, which is not ideal.
Is that the case? You'd have to
That's a
cut-
policy decision, and if you had people wanting to cut through there, you could certainly wheel yourself away around or walk around the building.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like if it's really bad weather.
If you didn't want to do that, you wanted to
Yeah,
cut
and you
in.
just want to get in the library as quick as possible,
Yeah,
you
you
would
could-
have to cut through the children's room.
If you need the elevator.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But otherwise, you can take the stairs. Sure. And that section is essentially the same as it was in the other one, except adults and children. Yeah.
So, from an accessibility standpoint, I think this is a better design because, while adults might be in wheelchairs or on crutches and so forth, children are often in groups and in strollers. And so like, just in terms of actually using the space, I think having the children's floor downstairs is better.
It's one of the reasons for this plan,
Yeah.
because if you're doing a children's program, you could park along in here, come in the front door.
Yeah.
You know, if 5 or 10 strollers show up at the same time, they don't have to queue up for the elevator. That's part of what this plan tries to do.
Yeah.
Is to avoid if somebody else brought that up as a potential issue. So people don't have to queue up as they get in the elevator. They all have trade-offs, right? There's not, none of this is perfect. When I first started designing libraries, I used to tell the story and say 20 years ago, and then I had to change it to 30, and now it's getting close to 40 years ago. Stu Roberts of Johnson Roberts told me, you know, the perfect library is a round building with the circulation desk in the center and all the stacks lined up radially, so you can see everything inside the building from one spot and only one door. Of course, that doesn't make any sense, right? No one would ever design a building like that.
Oh, the Worcester State University Library, that is the exact.
We worked in that building. Yeah, we used to call it the saw blade. It's horrible.
Very confusing.
Yes.
What is the distance between the sidewalk area and the front of the building?
The setback is 25 feet. And I'll jump back to that. And so that setback line, it may be hard to see from where you're sitting. It's basically right at the front of the building there. So it's 25 feet to the property line. And then there's probably another 15 feet or so to the edge, to the curb on the road. Curb on the road is just under that.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. So some of these swapping things that you're talking about is that we don't want staff workspace, we don't want like teen space or browsing space. to be underground.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I was
Yeah.
like, the teen space should have windows, should
Right,
have big
so,
nice
so
windows.
so you're kind of limited to the particular things you can
Right.
put underground.
I think the biggest thing though is elevator access.
Yeah.
And one of the things I mentioned last time at the last meeting was wrestling my stroller in and then seeing another half stairs is a little discouraging when you're like, I just want to get out of the house for a day with my little child. You know, it's like one of those little things, but it's like, do I have the energy for this today? You
Well,
know?
and speaking as, I was on crutches for the better part of 2 months this year, and if I have to go from that door 800 million miles down to the elevator, because that's how it feels. Like
Right.
at work, I was like weighing, do I take the stairs or the elevator because of how far I have to perambulate to get to an elevator.
So like we have the one elevator here, which is maybe like if you could have like one elevator here and a one elevator in the back.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and that's just one of my big things is like the accessibility of being able to be in the building and where you want to be, not having to traverse the whole thing.
Well, we also look at schemes where we put the elevator in the middle. So.
But that seems worse because then you don't
Because
get either.
everybody has to walk, right?
Yeah.
And nobody's
So-
happy.
Nobody's happy.
So we ended up putting it in the rear entrance because we thought most people were gonna use the rear and the main entrance.
Well, I think also if you put the bulk of the handicap parking by that rear entrance, that will encourage adults who need to access the elevator to use that entrance. But
Sorry, I've just made it more confusing.
So I just say, from a non-building committee, as so who lives in the neighborhood, and has a mobility challenged spouse, you tend to go places with a vehicle. You don't walk great distances or wheel great distances to get to a door and then worry about the elevator. You tend to get there in some sort of conveyance, and then you want an elevator when you get close. So I would say that the majority of the pedestrians might come in the front door, but they're not mobility challenged, generally speaking.
yeah, that's correct. That is 100% correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it seems to me that the commonality of comments is walking to an elevator. Is there a reason that the elevator can't be central to the design, so it's somewhere midpoint, so you're not really, either making it much closer to the majority of entrances? I mean, right now it's either here or here.
Well, the reason we chose in the back is just because of what we're sitting here now. Because for the majority of folks that are coming in that really need an elevator, they're gonna park in the back, come in the door, elevator's right there.
Thank you. I needed that perspective.
That's why it's in the back.
Just about going through the children's room, I just have another comment, so much after the Eden said we didn't want to have adults going through the children's room. Some children's rooms actually don't allow adults in unless they are accompanied
Accompanied by a
by a
child.
child. And the gentleman who wrote Wimpy Kid, right? He went to a library, he was visiting and doing a book tour, and he went into a children's room, and they obviously didn't recognize him, and they told him to leave because he was on his own. A strange man wandering into a children's space. So
And every time we do it, I have to go into I go right to the desk and explain who I am, and they just look at me like, is this for real? Because they're doing their job, I understand completely.
But I do think you're gonna have the pedestrians, people are just gonna take myself included, I live across the street, I could
You're
walk
going
to the
right-
back of the building, I won't, I'll cut through there if I can.
But I think this particular, the way this one is designed though, you can cut through, there's stairs right
Oh,
there.
This one.
This
yeah,
one,
I
you
like
have the
this.
glass,
So we're gonna go right up the stairs and you'll
have the,
Yeah.
like
you'll be
the,
right at the desk.
I just didn't think it was good when you walk through the children. That
right,
entrance.
nobody likes that.
Yeah, this one I feel much rather.
Yeah.
We're hearing now. Yeah.
That be called, if we think creative, would that be called, could even be a community value space?
It
That
definitely
would be
yes.
amazing.
That's if you, that's what we did in Littleton. If you go to Littleton, that's exactly what we did in Littleton. Because they have, the lower level has children's, meeting room, teens, conference room. And then what connects them all is a gallery space.
And being a community gallery invites the walk, because you go from frame to frame.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So just like, when you talk about the handicap parking, being up by the door in the back entrance.
Yep.
That's where the 2-story seems to make sense to me, because now the adults could come straight in and not need an elevator at all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sure.
I was going to say that, you know, the point is that if the library helps us low traffic for that street, there is a sense that actually having the library in the block actually helps the neighbors.
Oh, no.
No?
No. I don't know how the library could help the neighbors.
If-
on the
if
street
it-
when You got 18-wheelers going down that
So
street.
that's what I'm saying. It's like if that block is actually a shortcut, the town can make the drastic decision to block it to traffic and make it pedestrian friendly.
I asked about that and that was not, yeah.
Because making it pedestrian friendly and closing it to traffic will resolve a lot of the issues that we're talking about. The entrance to the library in the front.
Even pinching the road will cause the 18-wheelers to find a different route, because right now, 18-wheelers use that road because it is way too wide for the speed limit posted. Pinching roads is when you make the road narrower. When the lanes are a little narrower, you subconsciously understand that you need to slow down. That's why.
We thought the stop signs would do
No, but what I'm telling you, the science is there to back up narrowing roads. Stop signs only work if people see them. But if you narrow the roads, as long as it's an experienced driver, not a teenager, they're going to notice the narrowing of the road subconsciously, and it slows people down. It's why you don't want a big, wide main street with traffic being allowed to flow down it. With a big, wide main street, they go 60 miles an hour, and there's pedestrians.
Also, low-level speed humps.
Yeah.
Slow traffic. So don't
Absolutely.
need to make a change to the street itself, road work.
Yeah.
And those would be more economical.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, closing the road down to traffic isn't going to make anybody happy because people are going to want to drive to their driveways. But if we make it less pleasant, less easy for people to just shoot down that road, because it is a straight shot and it's a very broad road.
And if you start at one of those stop signs at Church and Chestnut, if, depending on your vehicle, motorcycles can get up to 80 miles an hour by the time they reach Water Street.
Yep. Yep.
Speed bumps are, no, they haven't been applied, they finally put them in, they finally put them in Worcester.
Years ago, speed humps, the low level.
They don't have, they work in other communities, they finally had a bite the bullet in Worcester, because they had so many fatalities. That'll slow people down.
It sure does.
Speed bump.
That's the end of my show. Thanks so much for coming. This really does help with the design process. Because when, we know library design pretty well, but your community, we want a library, building development, streetscape, hopefully that works for you all. And so.
It's a street farm and stuff, right? So there's the planning, like the sites.
Yep.
You have the traffic committee, and then report to the select board, and the select board. And I would absolutely agree that we got I think it's about a quarter mile, but it's an 8 mile, and people use it like it is a driving strip. It's fast, but that happens now, and it will only be complicated by having another public building. But I do think that because the town has voted for this, and there's a really good groundswell of support for renovating the library, including the library, there was probably common cause to say, let's do something about Chestnut Street as well.
Yeah.
There's no reason why both of these concerns can't be aligned and parallel.
And there's another forum on the 9th of December. So I'm just saying for everyone, this is an open process, so December 9th, Tuesday, in the town hall this time. So again, so I'll have to find a building.
And you know that the building committee is meeting on Zoom on Monday.
Yes.
Is there gonna be cheerleaders?
No cheerleading because that's what made it so unpopular. Yeah, we had a bunch of children learning how to yell really loudly in a space that projects volume. So like, what could possibly be wrong?
Thank you. Thank you.